There's something truly rotten about modern Britain. Yes, the empty shops, the broken pavements, the greyness of it all. But what I mean specifically is just the overall sense of corruption that just seems to be hanging over everyone's head. A sense that the system is so heavily stacked against us, the average man and woman, and there doesn't seem to be anything that anyone can do about it. But let's be honest, it's nothing new. Maybe it feels new because, much like every other aspect of our lives, corruption in the halls of Westminster has just become another spectator sport, something to drive engagement. Now, of course, back in the day, they could get away with a lot more, and I'm sure they did. When you think back to a decade like the 1970s, there's a reason why it's tarred with the sense of sleaze and tension. And much like today, back then there was chaos on both sides of the Atlantic. Out of that anger, Hollywood invented a new kind of genre, well, subgenre really, one that helped release the pressure a little bit. And back home, ITV did exactly the same thing and created one of the most iconic shows in British television history. This kind of film, this kind of TV show helped people face the kind of corruption they felt, but sadly, modern entertainment isn't able to confront this kind of issue. And I thought we should talk about it. Earlier this week, at time of recording, Parliament held a vote. Not a vote to actually investigate anything or make a great change for the country or do something good for once. Instead, this was a vote to decide whether they would investigate something or not. Something that's actually really important and affects nearly every aspect of society. Something that would do real good for the people, for the country as a whole. So, of course, the verdict was predictably no. I'm not going to get too far into the weeds on this one because everyone kind of knows what's going on anyway, but short version, Peter Mandelson was appointed US ambassador for the UK back in 2025 by Keir Starmer. He was then subsequently sacked when his relationship essentially with Jeffrey Epstein became too much for the government to ignore. The sad thing about this most recent update is that it was just so inevitable. Of course, they weren't going to investigate Starmer. Of course, this vote was going to go for the government and not against them. And the fact that this vote was put together and then Labour whipped their MPs and basically said, no, you're not allowed to vote for this. You have to vote against an inquiry, which really removes the veneer and the veil that there's any kind of morality or decency in Westminster. They clearly just do what they're told. They clearly just do what's best for them. And that's modern corruption in the UK. It doesn't look like brown envelopes stuffed with cash or dodgy meetings in shady car parks anymore. It looks like parliamentary process. It is parliamentary process, in fact. And even the Epstein thing really should be the kind of thing that unifies everyone. We should all be looking to get to the bottom of this, left, right, up, down, middle, centre, whatever. But of course, it isn't, because this isn't anything new either, by the way, the corruption. I mean, Britain has quite literally been here before. Not metaphorically, quite literally been here before. 1970s Britain was practically ungovernable. The country saw strikes, power cuts and rubbish piling up in the streets. It's almost like it's a bit of a Labour trait at this point, isn't it? And there are many similarities between Britain under Labour in the 70s and Labour in the modern day. All we're waiting for now is a 3-day work week and rolling brownouts because the government can't keep the power on. America back at this time, back in the 70s, was also going through a crisis. Into that specific moment where the people had simply had enough, somehow Hollywood found a way to release the pressure, to facilitate the growing sense of vengeance. And so was born the vigilante cop genre, or subgenre really. And there were quite a few of these films that propped up in the 70s, and some of them were bloody fantastic. They reflected the gritty reality of life. It didn't turn away from the corruption and the lawlessness of the time. It grabbed hold of it and used it. As I say, there were quite a few of these films, but for many, I think the pinnacle would be the Dirty Harry series. I can't believe that anybody hasn't seen at least one of the Dirty Harry films. But in short, Harry Callahan, played by Clint Eastwood, is a detective who operates entirely outside of the rules. He isn't a corrupt cop, but he is completely unbothered by process and procedure.
You have to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Quite literally, when the system fails society, he's not filing a complaint. He just gets out there and sorts the mess. Dirty Harry was pure escapism and in many ways lifted up the downtrodden. He was extreme in his methods, and at times the films are pretty uncomfortable in their realism. These films are dark, but that really is the point of them. People clearly wanted this kind of escapism. It was the revenge fantasy played out for them against a system that had pushed them too far. And as a result, they were both a commercial and cultural success, and it cemented Clint Eastwood as a superstar in his own right. After all, this is almost certainly his most defining role, if not one of his most defining roles. And back home in Blighty, we were doing the same thing, just with worse weather, but better one-liners, standard.
Oh, behave.
I'm, of course, talking about The Sweeney, one of ITV's finest. If you haven't seen it, first of all, what are you doing? And second of all, drop what you're doing and go and watch it because it's bloody brilliant. The show depicts Detective Inspector Jack Regan of the Flying Squad, played by the legendary John Thor. Thor does this thing throughout The Sweeney where he just radiates this barely contained contentment for everyone that's around him. It's done absolutely geniusly. Alongside him, of course, is Dennis Waterman as Carter, his partner, who is incredible in his own right, actually. And the pair of them together generate this kind of awesome energy that you can only really get from British television shows in the 70s. Do you know what I mean? If you watch it, you will know what I mean. I mean, I genuinely love this show, to be honest. There's a grittiness to it. There's a street level sense of humour that just feels completely gone from British television and British culture these days. It was mostly, if not entirely, shot on location, on real London streets and real council estates. The kind of London, the kind of Britain that's been demolished, if not just changed out of existence, which is kind of sad, but also in the same way, it gives you something else watching it back in 2026. It's kind of a time capsule almost, not just a TV show, but it gives you that real sense of what life was like. Oh, and special mention needs to go to the title sequence, which is one of, if not the greatest title sequences in existence. That tune is banging. That tune is just stonking. That title sequence is just brilliant, if you ask me. It perfectly encapsulates and welcomes you into the world, into the story that you're about to watch in a quite uniquely British way. And just like Dirty Harry, it wasn't an accident that the Sweeney arrived when it did. Regan doesn't follow procedure. He's operating in a world where the official version of justice has basically broken down. And the audience understood that completely, and that's why it resonated.
I mean, what's the matter with everybody? What is the whole country asleep? Are you deaf as well as stupid?
Same fantasy, different accent, I suppose. And so to conclude then, and to keep it kind of contained in Great Britain, no, I don't think we want vigilante justice. No, I don't think we want rogue cops taking justice into their own hands. But I do think that the same feelings that people felt under old Labour in the 70s, obviously I wasn't there, but the sense I get from watching documentaries and just hearing people speak and hearing people give their experiences from back in the day is the same thing, from what I can tell, as what people feel under New Labour in 2026. But to be completely fair, I don't think it matters who's in power, whether it would be the Tories, Reform, Lib Dem, Greens, whoever. I think they're all useless. I think they're all self-serving, and I think they're all corrupt. And the real sad thing is we don't have an effective media in Great Britain. We don't have, the champion of the lower orders as journalists and broadcasters at least attempted to be back in the day. We don't have any of that anymore. If we had an effective media, we might get some entertaining shows and some characters that we could really resonate, that could channel some of the energy of just the absolute corruption that many of us feel and many of us see in our day-to-day lives. And that would be great. But sadly, much like tackling the corruption at the top, I just don't see how that can happen with the current custodianship of the media sphere. And so I reckon it's probably left to the likes of me and you whinging about it on YouTube and X until they inevitably ban that. And then I don't know where we're going to turn to. If you like that one, please do consider liking, commenting and subscribing. And I will see you in the next one.